Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I am privileged to have a special guest to interview today. We have Margot Grinberg, the president of the Movado brand, as well as the SVP of Ecom for the Movado Group. So welcome to the show, Margot.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So I know it's the Movado Group, and it's Movement and Olivia Burton. What other brands are part of that collective from an ecom perspective?
Yeah, so we own Movado, Movement, and Olivia Burton, as you mentioned, as well as two other brands called Concord and Eval. Those are both based in Switzerland. So that's our portfolio of own brands. And then we also have a portfolio of licensed brands. We make Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Lacoste, Hugo Boss, and Coach watches and jewelry, which we're, proud to partner with such iconic and well-known fashion brands.
Your work, I think, probably affords you a lot of travel. I think you said you were in China doing some, maybe not just shopping, maybe research, but have you ever gotten to Switzerland, given that that's kind of the home base of timepieces and watchmaking?
I have been to Switzerland. I haven't been in, since the pandemic, actually. So it's definitely going to be somewhere I plan to head this year. Obviously, Movado, while being based here, is a Swiss brand, and we make our watches there and have, a great team there as well. So I look forward to visiting for sure. But it's a great place, and there's just, so much watchmaking history, which makes it so exciting to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I was actually just helping some friends plan out a trip to Switzerland. So maybe I'll get over there at some point. But the history of the brand is fascinating. I was, again, doing some research, and tell us just a little bit about kind of the brand. Your grandfather is involved, your father, and now you. It's kind of a family business, and you've been in it for some time now. So how was that kind of growing up and getting into the roles that you've had along the way?
Yeah, it's been a really great, unpredictable journey, and I've enjoyed all of it. The Movado brand itself was started in 1881 in Switzerland. It's gone through a bunch of, different iterations and evolutions, but it's been around for a long time and still is a, proud timepiece maker. The brand as it exists today was acquired by my grandfather when he was building his business. He started as a watch distributor, first in Cuba and then in the US, and ultimately began acquiring brands, and Movado was the second one he acquired. And, he worked with my father for many years. I actually never got the opportunity to work with my grandfather, but heard all of his stories and my dad's stories around the dining table growing up. And it's been, just a great honor. And I've learned so much from the things I've heard about him and the way that he thought about building brands and marketing. And I've learned even more from my father, and getting to watch him work and getting to actually work with him for many years now. And it's just been a great opportunity for me to grow and to learn. And it just only adds to the passion that I have for this brand and this business.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been here at Listrak my entire career, 25, going on 25 years. And being a father-son family-owned business, I've seen a lot of the evolution. Ross being our CEO, his father being, he was just kind of a jack of all trades, filling in wherever he could. But he had a financial background. So starting out, he very much had a handle on the finances, and Ross was the entrepreneur. So, any interesting dinner table conversations with your dad when you get together, and do you get into that at home, or do you get to leave it at the office?
We try to leave it at the office, especially when we're with, the rest of my family. I'm the only one of my siblings that work in the business. We definitely can go very easily between talking about, something completely unrelated to work, into work, and then back to something else. But yeah, I think it's just, more, it was the conversation I heard between my grandfather and my dad as I was growing up that I think really got me excited and interested in the business. And now I talk to my dad at work all the time, so we tend not to need to talk about work as much over family dinners anymore. But it is a really nice dynamic. And And it's just been, a great, joy for me that I get to spend this time and really respect my father as a businessman, obviously not just as my dad. So it's, I just feel very lucky and privileged for the opportunity.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I know Ross and Howard have a really great relationship. Things can get heated at the office at times, but overall, we know that they love each other and are dedicated to each other and the business. So, and passionate, right? So, in your kind of, you kind of started, I think, in the financial world, and then moved into the Movado Group as a merchandising analyst. Is that right?
Yeah, that was my first job.
Okay. And that was that kind of formative for you? Like, did that help give you a better understanding of, the customers that you were selling to and where you needed to go kind of as you and, the Movado Group as a whole started kind of acquiring these additional brands? Was the merchandising role for you helpful?
Yeah, I think all of the different roles I've had here have really helped lay a really good foundation for kind of where I feel like I really sunk my teeth into where I am today, which is, spending, 4 years in digital around all of our direct-to-consumer businesses. I started in merchandising, as you mentioned, really understanding, like, how do we think about product? How do you build watches for consumers, learn from data, and build based on that, not just like, obviously trends and things come into it, but also what are customers buying and what are they looking for from each of our fashion brands. I really spent a lot of time focusing on our fashion brands at that point. And then I actually worked in sales. And I think that was also really formative for me, understanding where consumers are buying this product and how they're actually interacting at the point of sale and what's actually working is, I think, something that really helped me grow my career grow to where I am today, because I think point of sale and that in-store experience is as important as that digital experience. But I think building the digital part of our business, starting 4 years ago and to where it is today, really helped me understand who is our customer, how do we communicate with them, how do we acquire more of them, what do they need, and they don't all need the same thing. And so it's how do you become more personalized? How do we have something that differentiates our experience from anywhere else you can buy a Movado watch? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I want people to come into the brand and to enjoy the products and our stories and buy it wherever they feel most comfortable. But being able to create that differentiated experience on our own website has been, really important to me and something that is still extremely critical to our success.
Yeah. So using data that you're gleaning from those different customer interactions, have you done anything specific that you focused on kind of melding that store experience to the digital e-com experience from a personalization or a data perspective, things of that nature?
I think what the growing our digital business has allowed us to do is to get more firsthand data of who is our customer, right? When you're shopping in a Macy's or a K's, we're really excited, but we don't really learn who you are. And if we don't have a good sampling of who our customer is, it's hard to then make sure we're doing all those right things for them, whether it's in product, in marketing. And so the growth of our e-commerce business has allowed us to really get close to who our customer is. And then we can continue to be much more personalized in how we communicate to them, but also how we market more broadly, whether it's through a Meta, through Google, through TikTok, even in, print ads, television. How do we make sure we're reaching the diverse consumer that makes up, the Movado brand? And so that's the benefit to me of having, a great e-commerce business is, obviously the business and the sales are great, but it's also getting to get a much closer read on who is buying in that first party kind of way.
Yeah, there's really just been such a focus on zero party, first party data because privacy across the U.S. and even the globe is at the forefront of everybody's mind. So really collecting and leveraging as much as you can is super important. I'd imagine that with so many different brands, you might have different personalization strategies across them, right? Like the person who is a luxury watch collector might be different than somebody that's buying something for their significant other at Olivia Burton or some of those. Any major differences there, or just kind of like collect the data that you can and use it and test it in the best way possible?
Yeah, I think our customers across our brands and even within our brands tend to be different, right? The price points are very different. The types of products we're offering are really different. And then that also leads to how often you purchase, and you kind of brought up gifting, which is a big part of our category. So the person who is giving a gift is obviously very different than the person who potentially is, buying the product to wear. And so, obviously we don't know everything about everyone, but we do our best to kind of segment our, who they are, why they're buying, and then personalize their experience from there. We also try to do things that, can improve that experience. So for example, when it comes to gifting, we've added engraving to the Movado website. That to us was really important because we know how heavily the product is gift, and that can create that even deeper connection with the gift. And Absolutely. We've seen that, do amazingly well. And so then it's also, how do we reach those consumers and market for gifting, whether it's, during Mother's Day or Father's Day, and make sure they know that we have that point of difference from, other places you can buy our products or other brands, but also making sure we, send them on that gifting journey. Whereas, during a different time of year, we might be trying to really reach you to buy yourself a gift, or, so it's different communication tactics during different times of the year. We also segment based on what we know about consumers' age, demographics, what they've purchased in the past, anything that we can do to try to get closer to them and give them a recommendation or show them product or collection that we believe is right for them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to ask you how you collect that data around gifting and the engraving thing. I was thinking, during checkout, like, is this a gift, right? Like the classic.
That is something you can check, and you can get, a nice little wrap and
right. And that's like the obvious. But the engraving thing, that's awesome. I don't know that I would engrave something for myself, so that's fairly good indicator that it is a gift. And that's awesome that you can collect that and leverage that in future campaigns, triggered campaigns, just as part of their profile. With on the other side, right, the watch collectors that might be buying their wardrobe of watches, those types of customers, is there any specific kind of strategy or tactics around like when you message them, or are you just kind of trying to stay top of mind with new releases and collaborations and things of that nature that might just land at the right time?
Yeah, I think we often try to make sure we just stay on top of mind with new releases, collaborations, as you mentioned, right? We want to make sure we're, communicating the right amount. I think brands can over communicate with consumers too. And, we all know we all get a ton of emails a day. We get a ton of ads on when you open Instagram. You're probably seeing more ads now than you see your friends. Wow. And so how do we make sure we're hitting the right people at the right time? And so that is, really our goal, is to make sure it's, looking at how often you've purchased, when you've purchased, and using that to kind of find the right sweet spot. And a lot of it is testing and learning, right? You can see when people opt out, when they opt in, and all of those different, moments in time. And that's how we really, try to figure out what's the best path for somebody. But it's certainly not a one size fits all. And you certainly make mistakes and learn from them. But our goal is to ultimately make sure that our consumers and the people who are loyal and interested in the Movado brand get to see what's most exciting from us on a day in, day out basis.
Yeah. Everything is in a constant state of change, and testing and learning is so important. As I'm sitting here with my phone, I'm looking forward to seeing all of the Movado and Movement ads show up in my Insta feed. But in terms of that growth aspect, right, and some of these newer brands, I think from a Listrak perspective, just in working with your brand and doing my research, it sounds like we've got, significant list growth from an acquisition perspective, a reduction in churn, as you said, kind of stay top of mind. So the more we can reduce people, leaving the list after they, make their first purchase or get their coupon or whatever it might be, with a focus on growth and acquisition, maybe for some of the newer brands, is that, from an overall strategy, is there a focus on retention at this point to kind of maintain them as customers, or is it just kind of gas pedal down to keep acquiring new customers from a list growth perspective?
I think retention is always at the core of what we're thinking about, because at the end of the day, it's expensive to acquire a customer, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't want to acquire customers that are just going to churn. And so we are trying to be more targeted and thoughtful in how we reach consumers and who we're reaching, people that we feel will resonate with our brand. And then we obviously are customizing our, your journey through the brand so that you hopefully don't churn. And we're showing you things that are relevant for you throughout that journey. It's not just like a one size fits all. You're in the Movado or Olivia Burton world, and now you're going to all see the same thing. And that's a big testament to our team who, works with Listrak, works with the data and the journeys and segments to make sure that we're, constantly improving their consumer experience. But retention to me is as important as acquiring a customer. It's too expensive for anyone today to just keep acquiring and letting those go. And the other thing is we want to build a brand for the long term. If you're building real brand that people have connection to, they're going to want to stay a part of your world and a part of your community. And so that's really important to us.
Right. And I think it could be, given, like you said, the different price points of your product, I'm sure you already know this, but it might be easy to lose sight of the cost of acquisition in the price point of your product. But, it's just the idea of that retention play and growing a customer lifetime value as a whole, I think is just super important. And triggered messaging, I think, has to play into that. As you said, the journeys. Do you feel that I'm sure you have plenty of, friends and associates in the industry that maybe are not in a luxury vertical. Do you feel that there's anything different about the luxury customer life cycle that you have to treat differently or with more care around an automated series or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the journey's longer, right? And you have to, because it's longer, you want to make sure that you're not over, sending or over communicating and giving people time to make that choice, right? People don't lightly go spend $600, $700, $1,000, right? It's not an impulse purchase by any stretch.
Right.
It takes multiple touches through the marketing funnel to make that choice, right? And then so now once you've made the choice that you want to buy the product, then it's where you're going to buy the product and all of those different parts of the decision-making process. So I think we definitely think a little bit differently when it comes to someone buying a luxury or, a higher end watch from one of our brands than a, fashion brand, because you're trying to get them to convert much faster because the thought process isn't as, long. And you're competing against different categories, different share of wallet, different moments in time for shopping. And so, yeah, it's definitely a different journey. It's definitely thought about differently. And we definitely don't have a one size fits all approach for each of our brands. They're, customized to who those consumers are and what that brand needs.
And within the brand, I may ask you for, some watch style tips towards the end here, but so my watch knowledge, I guess, is maybe not as thorough as it might be as someone.
That's one thing I can help with.
Okay, perfect. But in looking through your product catalog, right? I was learning about the museum watch face. I was looking at the bold lines. Are there different kind of lines that you focus your messaging on based on data around, the types of products that they're looking at or carding or buying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, different collections hit different price points and their styles are also different. And so are geared towards different, target audiences. And so we definitely segment our marketing and target different people through the platforms that we advertise based on that. There's obviously certain things we like to do that is really just to build the brand and to put the brand in front of consumers. The museum dial is what we're iconic for. And so a certain amount of our marketing is just to reiterate that to consumers. This is Movado. This is what a museum dial looks like. This is what we're great at doing. But there's also certain collections within the brand that we really want to get younger consumers. We really want to get, loyal consumers, or we want to get someone who's willing to, spend more and get an automatic watch. And they're different and they have different budgets and they're probably spending their time on different social platforms. And so we definitely cater and target and create content specifically for those things. So within, all of the marketing that we do is customized from the creative perspective all the way to who we're targeting and where we're targeting them.
You kind of teed it up for me. We didn't plan this, but the different channels, right? Different demographics, different buyers. Do you have maybe like a favorite channel or one that you're going to focus on? Are you focusing on the SMS channel? Is it, SMS, MMS, or social? You mentioned TikTok. Like, are you guys investing in the social selling aspect? Where do you kind of see your channels if you're looking into the e-com crystal ball moving forward?
I think you really need to have a full media mix to really reach consumers, at least for a brand like Movado that has a wide target audience. We have a large market share in the United States. We want to make sure we maintain our current consumer base. We want to reach new consumers, and we want to make sure we also, continue to elevate our brand. And so for us, what does that mean? It means I want to be on TikTok and getting new younger consumers, and I believe strongly in social commerce. So we want to be at the forefront of that. But I also want to still be in magazines and on billboards and on television. And so our media mix is really made up of all of the different channels because we want to get to consumers where they want to be reached. And for a brand like Movado, that is on a different platforms. We also always want to be testing and learning on what's the newest thing. So is it TikTok? Is it, Be Real never, I don't think, took off into an advertising platform, but I know a lot of 15-year-olds loved it. But if that was the next thing, it had a hot minute. If that was the next thing, right, then we would want to be able to be there if that's where our consumer is. And so it's always about, to me, learning and testing the new platforms while continuing to iterate on the ones that you've been, working well on.
Well, yeah, I think there's the tried and true, right? Like your email, your SMS, your paid media. You mentioned TV. Have you guys gotten into connected TV type stuff at all? I know that there's now these platforms like Roku and whatever that are going to allow you to do more one-to-one targeting. I certainly feel like I see that. So yeah,
we've done a good amount of advertising on YouTube TV, which is one-to-one advertising. I think we're going to keep trying different ones, right? That's where you're consuming your television, and that's where we will reach our consumer. I think there is a difference to me just in terms of, broad reach, which is what a general buying a TV commercial that's going to air on a football game on a, Sunday is still just a much broader reach because it's not one-to-one. I'm not targeting you. It's just anyone watching. So I think there's still, kind of room for both. But yeah, absolutely. I think, connected TV is for sure something we want to keep using, keep learning more about, keep trying in different ways so that we can keep, reaching consumers where they're, consuming media.
Well, and I think that it's just important to have that mentality of one-to-one personalization content. As we've been kind of talking, it's you want to put the right content in front of the right person to make sure that they have everything that they need when they're going through maybe that consideration that can take months or longer for sure. So that definitely resonates, and I think that goes kind of across channel. So we're just able to really start to take that strategy to a new media platform or an old new media platform.
Yeah, and I think today you're consuming media in so many different ways. And I think the most consumers are touched by a brand in probably at least 3, but probably 6 different forms of media before they make a purchasing decision, right?
Yeah.
You saw it on a YouTube ad. You might have seen it on TV. You're going to see it on Instagram. You're going to maybe go to the website. Then maybe you're going to get an email, right? You're going to go through so many points. You don't even necessarily realize how many times you're touched by a brand.
Yeah, you're going to see it
because a lot of it, I feel but you're I often find myself buying something. I'm wait, how did I get here? And then it's, I saw it in all these different places, and it might have been an influencer before. And then I looked at the website, and I got an ad on Instagram, and then I signed up for email, and then I got that final email, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to purchase, right? So all of these different media, areas, they work together so closely. And the hardest part, I think, of working in marketing today is to try to figure out what is the right mix for your brand, because it has to be some kind of mix of all of this, but you don't want to spread your dollars too thin either, right? So I think it's a exciting time to be working in marketing and media and in digital. So it just keeps all of us on our toes, and you just have to keep learning.
Yeah. So anything that you're particularly excited about as we look, throughout the rest of 2024 into 2025 as it relates to either, Movado as a brand or the Movado Group? What's most exciting for you coming up in the future?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this year. I think it's going to be a great year for us. We're investing behind our brands, and I think we have a lot of exciting plans for Movado that I can't quite talk about, but I am really
That's fair. We won't get into that.
I'm really, really excited of all the things the team's hard at work on. And I hope that our, consumers and our partners all respond well to it when we bring it to life.
Yeah. Yeah. And, being that Listrak is so partnership focused, I think that, once we can, be brought into the fold of all of the exciting things that you guys are bringing to the table this year and beyond, I'm sure our team will be just excited to execute on that stuff.
Yeah, it's been great partnering with you guys at Listrak for a while now. And it's, obviously the retention part and the email part and that communication with our consumers is so important. It's how we talk to them. And so it's been, I know the team has been on a great journey with your team, and we look forward to the evolution of that this year.
Awesome. Well, and I'm going to wrap it up, but I said I was doing my research and found that we have a shared passion in pasta. And, I want to make sure that next time I'm up in New York, you can, give me all the hot spots, the best places, maybe the best hidden gems to get some, fresh pasta. Do you have a favorite spot up there that you want to light up on the podcast here that
I
can go to?
It's like asking me to pick a favorite child, and I don't even have children. But there's a lot of spots in New York that have amazing pasta, and honestly, I'm always trying to find like something new that people don't really know about.
For sure.
So I don't have like any like hidden secret spot that I can, that I'm thinking of on the top of my head. But I will say this restaurant opened in the West Village called, I'm going to butcher how I'm pronouncing this, but Rascoli. I'm totally not saying that. Or Roscioli, I think is actually how you say it.
Probably
it's from Rome, and they just opened in the West Village, Soho, like where they kind of meet. And it really does live up to the hype. It's some of the best pasta I've ever had in New York.
Nice.
And I hope I'll like be able to sneak my way back in. It's not that easy to get into.
And I think you said that you're not so much of a chef, but I kind of felt bad there for a second because, making fresh pasta is a very simple thing. And I want you to experience that. Tagliatelle is probably the easiest pasta to make. It's always rustic. So I would encourage you to, maybe one of these weekends, just kind of put aside some time. And tagliatelle is very easy, and you're going to be happy you did it. And, Marcella Hazan's tomato sauce is super simple to make too. So I'll hit you up after this and give you some tips.
I'll definitely need some tips. I will say I'm not the best in the kitchen. I'm much better at eating than I am at cooking, but I am always up for a challenge. So, with really clear instructions, I might be able to get a little bit of homemade pasta made.
Perfect. Well, it has been a pleasure having you on the podcast, speaking with you just about the background, such an iconic brand, the history, the growth, the future. All of that's been super fascinating, and it's been really great talking with you. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really, really great.
Absolutely. And I'll next time I'm up in New York, I'll make sure I hit you up and maybe we can find some pasta.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.